All right, hello and welcome back to my channel. Of course, we are going to be reviewing Future and Metro Boomin's new collab album, We Don't Trust You. Now, of course, I know that there's a lot to talk about for this project. I mean, really, there's one song to talk about. But, of course, I'm going to be going track by track. But I want to start off with saying, man, my expectations were pretty low. I personally, while I am a fan of Future, not the biggest fan, I was not a big fan of his past 4 projects. I Never Liked You, I thought while it had some really good songs, just wasn't a big fan. I thought a lot of it was pretty lackluster. Some of it even felt really lazy. Some of the features weren't really good. Pluto, Baby Pluto, that he did with Uzi, I thought it was going to be really good, and then a lot of the tracks just weren't very good. They were pretty boring, and just didn't really add a whole lot. It could have been like, I feel like 8 tracks, and it would have been like a phenomenal collab album. But the High Off Life, again, it had some really good tracks, some phenomenal tracks. But just as a whole, it just lacked a lot of substance. Production was kind of boring at points, and some of the features weren't all too good, and even Future himself was just a little boring on it. And then Save Me, it was just okay. I mean, it was 7 songs, and it had some highlights, some good moments, but it's not something I really visit all too much. So, despite me not liking like the past 4 projects he's made, I was still really looking forward to this album. I mean, Metro's coming off Heroes and Villains and the Spider-Man soundtrack, which he kind of like executively produced. But I mean, Heroes and Villains, that was one of my favorite albums of 2022, and it dropped within like the last month. I mean, that's just how strong it was. So, I mean, it's funny because I was like, you know what? If anyone's going to get Future back and like working at full capacity, it's going to be Metro. Like, there's no one else I feel like who could get him back in the game, doing the things that we need him to do at this point. But starting off, though, with the intro and title track, we get what I would deem as one of Pluto's best openers of all time. This opener is just really good. I mean, it's a slower pace, and it reminds me a lot of Trapped in the Sun, which is personally one of my favorite Future songs, as I said, from High Off Life, one of those phenomenal tracks I was saying. We don't get like this banger intro like we do sometimes with like Thought It Was a Drought or 7:12 p.m. This is him not necessarily laid back, but he's really honed in, and it feels like everything he's saying, it's like urgent and you need to hear it, and this is like important. Like, this is him like basically saying like, I mean business here, like this is real. Personally, to me, it feels like with the second verse that we're getting a little bit of possible subliminals being shot at Drake. I mean, he says, now, of course, I know a lot of people are saying this. Anytime dog is mentioned by a rapper, they're like, oh, Drake. But it's like kind of, Drake and Future always feature on each other's albums. And For All the Dogs is the first time Future hasn't been featured on an album in I don't know how long. And pretty sure this is the first time Drake hasn't been featured on one of his projects in, maybe since like Self-Titled, maybe, or Hendrix, I think one of those. But like, he's always on his albums, and usually multiple times. But just this feels like world shattering. Plus, there's lines that just kind of, it seems very much like, it's alluding to the feud that possibly, they both slept, like Future slept with the girl and then Drake slept with her. It's so fucking stupid. But either way, feels a little bit like that. Whatever. Really good song. Fantastic production. Really well done. Second song, Young Metro. It sees The Weeknd making a surprise appearance. Of course, just after he said, like, hey, for now, I'm done with features. And then they were probably like, yo, we're throwing shots at Drake on this. And The Weeknd was like, you know what? He said he built my career, and I didn't like that. I didn't like that shit. So he came out for this. And while he does have a much more subdued sort of feature on this, like he does a lot of background vocals, and he does have vocals of his own, but I feel like they're so subdued and kind of muted. I still really think it adds a lot to the track and still makes for a great collaboration and adds to their catalog of collaborations that they have. But I will say, like, while this is a Future and Metro album, this does feel like a really Future or a really like Metro Boomin based song where he is basically saying like, this is one of my beats and you're jumping on this, whereas I feel like he's mostly throughout this project making beats for Future. This is the one time he made a beat and he's like, nah, we need this shit on here. And it's so I mean, the production across this entire thing, I really don't think that there's a single song where like the production is bad. Like there's some moments where it's okay, it's a little bit lackluster, but there's no straight bad production moments. Next up we have Ice Attack, which leads you to believe that you're getting another sort of laid back track. I mean, at this point we kind of have two sort of laid back songs, and you do for the first minute, and then right after that we switch into a fucking banger. And while I think that at this point, like we needed a banger at this, like 3 tracks in, especially for like a Future album, I'm personally just not in love with this song. I just think overall it's one of the weaker tracks, but it is still entertaining. Type Shit is the first like really big hitter on the LP, and it sees us getting another Opium Cactus Jack collaboration. I mean, they're just on a roll with Cardi and Travis like joining up forces, and yeah, Travis on this serves as more of a transitional piece. He does much better on the later track Cinderella, which of course we will get to that, but I absolutely love when Cardi and Future have a couple lines back to back, and then it goes into Cardi's verse. And I will just say, the more that Cardi uses this deep voice, the more I fall in love with it. Like, I wasn't huge. It took me a long time to get used to and even like the baby voice on Whole Lotta Red, but this voice, like this deep voice, straight away, I fucking really liked it. And just the more he does with it, the more I like it. Like, it's just really well, and he finds a way to have it suit so many different production styles. And he really shines on this track. This is definitely, of course, one of the more fun moments on the project. And the production reminds me a lot of Coordinate from Birds in the Trap by Travis. Especially you hear like these church bells in like the first like half, at least. It kind of cuts out at the end, but, like the first half has like these church bells that ring on throughout. It reminds me a lot of that. Fifth song, Claustrophobic, is one of my favorites, reminding me a lot of that really old school Future sound. And it's just a super catchy song. It's got a really catchy chorus, and it's just got bars filled with him, you know, just like flexing his riches and saying, like, what is it? The line's like, bought another mansion because I felt too claustrophobic. Like, it's just stuff like that. So just classic Future stuff, and it fits perfectly into his catalog, and just one of my favorites from the project. Of course, next up we have the biggest track on the album right now, which is Like That. And I can't lie, I was listening to this, so I actually passed out Thursday night. I was going to stay up till 11 to listen to the album when it came out, and I ended up just passing out. I was so tired from work. And so, whatever. I ended up waking up earlier than I needed to on Friday, and I couldn't go back to sleep. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna spin the Future Metro album. Let me tell you, like, I was in it and I was listening and I was awake, but this fucking jolted me. I nearly shit my fucking pants when I heard Kendrick come on. I mean, of all features I was going to expect on a future Metro Boomin album, Kendrick would have been like the last person on the list. And so hearing him on here, I mean, was fucking nuts. I mean, we all know at this point, if you're watching this, I assume you know about the beef. He threw tons of shots. I mean, mostly at Drake, but also at J. Cole. Holy shit. I mean, this is one of the most exciting tracks in hip hop, in my personal opinion, probably since like, I don't know, maybe since Story of Adidon, when Pusha T dissed Drake. That was the last time we got like a really big feud, and seeing this is super exciting. I hope this fuels like a feud, because this is a feud that's not like the Pusha T and Drake one where they're bringing personal stuff in and like they're not saying like things about their lives outside of music. This is purely Kendrick being like, nah, like I am the king of rap. Like, you called us the big three, but as he said, it's just big me. Like, there is no big three. I'm the one that's on top. And so this could just be groundwork. And again, having this feature on this project, I feel like lends even more to the fact that Future might also be distancing himself from Drake, which is fucking crazy. Again, like, they have a collab album together. So, yeah. Anyways, all that shit aside, either way, the production side of the song is, of course, sweet as hell. It is not a typical Metro production. You get this Eazy-E sample throughout, and I believe there's an E41 at some point too in there, and it really is a standout. Like, just, again, lyrics and like Kendrick feature side, production-wise, this is super different from anything that's on here. You get these like, I think they're horns. It's like a din, din, din. Like, you'll know if you listen to the song. Again, I'm not like a singer, but that's horrible. But like this din, din, din that appears throughout the whole song, super fucking nice. And just the whole song is so damn good. And obviously, like, this has to be like top 3 on the project, I would imagine, for most people. Top 5 at least. I don't know, because I got a couple songs that I might put above this. That might be a hot take, but 7 songs slimed in, had me so excited for a Thug verse, but he just has an intro and an outro on this, and it makes me even more sad because the production on this, it's like Metro made this for Young Thug. There has to be, I mean, whenever he gets out of jail in 2077 or whatever, whenever this trial's over, they've got to make a remix for this song just for him to get on here, because holy shit, this was made for Young Thug. And I'm so upset that he's not on this. Yeah, I mean, just the way, like, the chorus, I could have had Future and Thug like going back and forth on it, or like them both doing it. Man, you know what? Again, something I've been seeing on Twitter, again, this is like impossible, and like, as I said, usually when an album comes out, I try not to look at other people's opinions, but this one, especially because of the Kendrick thing, was kind of hard not to look at other people's opinions. But seeing people who were like, just another Metro album, like, nothing special about this. Bro, you have, what are we on, track 7? I said, yeah, 7 songs in, and at least like 4 of the tracks are nothing like we've heard from him before. And again, this song is just another reason why. Like, this is not something you would typically hear from Metro, and this feels like it is a very specific era for Metro and Future. Future especially, because I feel like maybe the past couple projects I haven't loved because I feel like they're maybe lacking a little bit of identity. Like, you can go back and listen to DS2 and you're like, this feels like a certain era. This feels like 2015 Future. And you listen to 2017 Future and you're like, this sounds like Self-Titled. This sounds like Hendrix. Like, these have their spots in time, and his past couple albums haven't. And already, and it just continues on further and further for this whole project. This feels like it is a significant time in his career, and again, it just makes me really happy. And spoiler alert, I just really like this project. I like it a lot more than I thought I was going to. But yeah, again, on Magic Don Juan, we get another beat switch, which is nothing like Metro has done. I'm going to defend him. Metro is one of my favorite producers. Is he the best? No, that probably goes to Alchemist, maybe, or Dr. Dre for all-time producers. But fuck you either way. This production on this album is great. But the song is just okay. I don't think Future does anything too crazy on here. I like both halves, but overall, it's just not one of the strongest songs. Especially in comparison to Slimed In and the next song, Cinderella, which is a long-awaited, I don't know if it was like a snippet or if it was leaked in full. I know I have heard about it for like maybe 2-3 years, but it is a collaboration with Future and Travis, and holy shit. I mean, I listen, whenever they do a collab, I'm super excited for it. I mean, you have Telekinesis, which I think is maybe their best collaboration. And Solitaires, I believe, was the last one since then, which was, 2020 is when High Off Life came out. And Solitaires is really good. And then you have, like, First Off and 3500. Like, they always have fantastic collaborations. But, man, this one, like, I feel like their chemistry is just on point. It's really dark, and it's very nocturnal. It feels very much like it could have fit onto Heroes and Villains, but I am very glad that we finally got it. It's super hazy, and as I said, nocturnal. The production fits perfectly for both artists. It doesn't feel like it's like a Metro production for one of his albums that he chose two people to go on it. It doesn't feel like he's making it for Future or he's making it for Travis. This literally feels like just the three of them came together and put their fucking power into the studio, and this song is what came out. It's the perfect amalgamation of the three of them. I am just, as the kids say, glazing over this whole project, aren't I? Whatever. Next track, track 10, Run Out of Time, sees Future talking about how he feels like the relationship that he is in is dwindling and is dying, and it's just kind of going downhill. It's typical to get a song or two like this from him on one of his albums. I mean, you do get a bunch of songs like this on Hendrix. I don't keep talking about that, but I think it's really well done. Of course, with great production, with a heavy piano and actually background vocals from Bryson Tiller, which I didn't realize. Like, I was like, oh, I wonder who that is. And then today, when I was finishing up writing this review, I was just looking, and I was like, oh shit, like Bryson Tiller, like that's kind of random. I don't believe they have a song together. I could be wrong, but that's kind of cool. My only gripe with this song is that at the very end, you get this electric guitar, and it fucking shreds at the end. It's pretty subdued, but I mean, it's in there. And I'm so upset that we didn't get it for longer. Like, I wish the outro was extended to get more of it. But either way, I mean, it's so well done. Next up is Fried, and I think it's a decent song. It's pretty catchy. To get a bit of a repetitive chorus, I don't think that's a bad thing, but it does feel like a bit of a step backwards, and sounds like something we could have gotten off of I Never Liked You. Personally, I just think it's okay. Not too bad. I might listen to it on its own every once in a while, but not one of my favorites to take out of it. And personally, the next track, Ain't No Love, feels a bit like another subliminal diss towards Drake. That could just be me. But either way, it highlights with a really catchy chorus, great verses, and even better production with, of course, a really nice trap piano and percussion. But it's filled with these they're very light, but like these futuristic synths behind it all. Like, it's very, I don't want to say subdued again, because it's not necessarily subdued. They're just very toned down and kind of hard to hear at certain moments. But it's a very nice dynamic, and it's different from a lot of stuff, and as well as the flute that's on the outro. Big Boss Ricky Rose. I mean, what can I say? Again, another feature where I was listening to this and it was like another jolt awake in the morning. I was like, Rick Ross on a Future album that Metro is producing? That's crazy. But if you hear the production, you'll understand. Metro Boomin is going back into his soul sampling, chopped up bag that we got with Feel the Fire off of Heroes and Villains. And man, I know that there's a lot of producers that do stuff like this, but I would love to hear Metro doing a whole album like this, and maybe we will in the future. Whether that's the third installment of this Heroes trilogy that he's doing for his solo albums, or maybe after that, whatever. Because, man, this does really well. Future even does really well on it. And, of course, I mean, when you have something luxurious like this, a chopped up soul sample, it's made for someone like Rick Ross. And so it's a fucking phenomenal song, and I can see why a lot of people are calling it their favorite on the whole album. GTA gets back into the really dark atmosphere Metro is known for, though. While I think it is a good song, I think it could have paired well a little bit better on the first half of the album, where you got some slower songs. I think this would have had a nice juxtaposition with the slower toned down songs and maybe hyped it up a little bit more. And coming towards the end, Seen It All has the album falling off just a little bit, with pretty plain production. Like, it's good, of course, it's Metro, but it's just really nothing special, and kind of just a typical delivery performance from Pluto. What the Fuck You Mean feels like Future, though, taps back into that OG sound, but without sounding like he's regressing like he did before on the album. This might be my favorite on the whole album, because holy shit, the chorus is so catchy. I fucking love the production. And just, oh man, the flow that he has on these. I feel like this is something that you could have seen maybe DS2 era. I mean, that's just me. I mean, maybe that's just because I love DS2. I think DS2 was like a near perfect album as well. But as well as there's Travis backing vocals on this to add to it. Just the whole dynamic of this song is so fucking good. And it really is one of the best songs like he could have ended off with. But speaking of ending off strong, Where My Twin At gives us Future going into a very, like, what do you call it, where you're like giving flowers to someone, like he's going into appreciative bag, if you will. With him, basically, as it's called Where's My Twin At, it's him being like, you know, where's my brother, Young Thug, his longtime collaborator, one of my favorite artists of all time. And, you know, man, when he first says, where my twin at, oh, he in the courtroom, no tears, like head up, I was like, man, I was like, shit, I was like, fuck. Like, Future's feeling it, man. Like, his brother is still incarcerated and still undergoing his court case. But I think that the production switch up for this being like the outro is really well done. Again, in reference to Heroes and Villains, it's kind of like the switch up of Feel the Fire for the last, although there was All the Money with Gunna, but like how Feel the Fire is like the last like narrative song. Yeah, this is like super well done and is a really nice track to end off with. Unfortunately, again, this would have just been another perfect track for Young Thug to appear on too. You know, as they say, free Thug till it backwards. But yeah, that is going to be my review. I know that was pretty quick. I feel like I didn't linger too long on any of that, but you know, 17 tracks I think this album is, so I wanted to get through that pretty quick. But now we're on to the highest high section of the video. Best vocal performance I have to give to What the Fuck You Mean. As I said, super smooth. His cadences are on point and just flawless fucking delivery across the whole thing. Best production, I gotta give it to Everyday Hustle. I will give an honorable mention to Cinderella. As I said, I love that hazy nocturnal production, but just the soul sample and like the way it's chopped up on Everyday Hustle. It's so well done, and hearing like Future on something like that is like brand new, and Metro doing that is really exciting, and just Rick Ross adds to it so nicely. So yeah, I think that's singly the best production on here. Best songwriting, I'm gonna give to the opener, We Don't Trust You. Favorite bar, I mean, this might be a cop out, but I'm gonna give it to Kendrick on Like That. I think my favorite bar, God, there's so many to choose from. I knew I was gonna choose that. I mean, I probably gotta say, motherfuck the big three, brother. It's just Big Me. Like, you hear that is like the one line that everyone is taking out of the whole project, and for good reason. So that's gonna be my favorite bar. Of course, the best guest performance has to go to Kendrick. Again, stole the show, and while I fucking love his guest performance, I do feel pretty bad that like Future's not getting as much flowers as he should for this, because this album, as I said, is Future, I feel like, getting back into his prime. I hope that this is another uptick in his career, because I mean, he's 10 years in, right? I think his first album was 2013 or 2014, so this is him hitting 10 years into his career, and fuck, this is really good. This might be my second favorite project from him. And that might be early to say, and I'm sure people will disagree, but like, this thing is really fucking good, and it's just phenomenally produced from Metro, of course. And Future, for the most part, stays really interesting and seems just on top of his game throughout nearly every fucking track. And Future isn't one to really like flood his track list with a lot of features. He did a fair bit on I Never Liked You, but like, he's always one to be pretty selective about his features, and he did really good with them on here. So yeah, that is going to be my review for this album. You could find my links to everywhere else I am on all different socials and different websites in the description down below. Subscribe to see more. Please leave a like if you enjoyed. It helps a ton. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye now.